There are many things that we want in life. A cure for cancer, an end to world hunger, but also for corporations to stop gooning us for sequels to the games that we love. God, I want a real Paper Mario. When we stop being in denial about a sequel actually happening, we look to other devs to recreate the experience we loved when we were younger, sometimes even by the original people that made the game initially. At this point, we're vulnerable, and will push on despite any red flags that may present themselves. Anyway, on an unrelated note, in 2019, Turtle Rock Studios, the studio that was responsible for developing Left 4 Dead, announced a spiritual successor called Back 4 Blood. Would we all finally get the sequel we were hoping for? Would we finally get that Left 4 Dead 3 itch scratched? No, why do you think you're watching this video? Now, was it a good game that I genuinely enjoy playing? Yes. Was it a good Left 4 Dead game? Well, that's where it gets a bit more complicated. So fundamentally, what is a Left 4 Dead game? Okay, you've got the zombies, you've got the guns, but what's beyond that? Well, teamwork. You need items and enemies that encourage you to not be a selfish player and actually contribute to the team. Having a set amount of slots per player and being able to pass items around or use items on others made sure that all players played their part. The special infected each create unique hazards that you need to play around, whether it be incapacitating or other crowd control effects. Now we've got the zombies, we've got the items, we've got the enemies. What else is missing? Well, is it accessible? Is it easy for anyone to just pick up and play? Can anyone play this game for the first time and easily understand what's going on? Every element of this game should be simple and easy to understand. Does it add complexity to the game without being able to be understood at face value? Get it out of here. You don't need it. Now, is it replayable? Can you beat the same campaign over and over again without getting sick of it? If you hit these three pillars, you've got a pretty good Left 4 Dead game. Now, obviously, things get a bit more complicated from there, like gameplay feel, likable characters, sounds, music, and all that other boring stuff. But this is what Left 4 Dead is at its most fundamental level. Now, how does Back 4 Blood stack up? Well, let's start off with the most controversial addition to the series, the card system. Each card gives the player a certain buff. These can range from extra health, to melee attack speed, to whatever this thing is. Now, this gave players a lot of options to have super distinct roles on the team. You pull off all kinds of wacky builds, and it added a lot of ways to come back to the game and pick from a ton of different playstyles. This introduced a couple of problems, however. First off, this added a ton of complexity to the game. When before in Left 4 Dead you only had to worry about the interactions that the weapons and items would have with the infected. Now you have to worry about how one card interacts with the other, and the other, and the other, and you see where I'm going with this. Not only did this transfer development time from the gameplay to balancing the insane amount of card interactions, it also narrowed the audience that the games could appeal to. When you add all of these mechanics, combos, and builds to the game, it can be intimidating to new players that just want to enjoy the game. How'd they address this? Well, they made you have to unlock the cards from playing the game so that there would be a smaller amount to initially pick from. But unlocking the cards in this way assumes that you're going to invest a large amount of hours required before you can actually, play the game in the ways that the devs intended. It also makes it really hard to introduce someone to the game, since while you're doing your weapon swap admin reload build, your friend is stuck with the ass stat cards that are just not fun to play with. It also makes the game less appealing to the more hardcore players starting the game too, since the higher difficulties are balanced around the card system. So before you can get a challenge, you have to put the hours into the lower difficulties to unlock the cards, so that you can make a build that can take on Nightmare or No Hope. Every level the enemies also had cards they could get. These cards can make enemies bullet sponges more than they already were, or would change the gameplay up with cards ranging from mildly annoying to wondering what sleep-deprived fever dream convinced them that festering ridden would be a good idea. Sometimes they could be fun, but most of the time my reaction, instead of being, "Alright, let me open the door, let me get over there. I'm on my way."
There's actually just money raining out of you whenever you move.
Okay, maybe Consummate Adverse is alright. This is actually pretty fucking funny. My reaction was more along the lines of, oh god, this one again. The card system seems like a good idea in theory, but with the way it was implemented, it makes it much less appealing to most players that would get their hands on the game. There was so little commitment to appeal to a specific audience that ended up just appealing to nobody. The weapons and items underwent some changes as well. Instead of having a grenade, health pack, and pill slot, you now had a support slot, an offensive slot, and a quick slot. There was also the addition of the vendor. At the start of levels, you could buy items from the vendor, which you would buy with copper, a currency that you would find throughout the levels. You could also buy attachments for your weapons and upgrades for your item slots, making your items that you would bring with you and find around the level more powerful. The support slot consisted of your health pack, your pills, or your bandages. The health pack and pills were basically the same as they were in Left 4 Dead, and the bandages were a quicker heal that was less expensive. They would also not heal trauma damage, but had a chance to be reused. What is trauma damage? Well, I'm glad you asked. Whenever you take damage when you don't have a temporary heal like pills activated, you take damage to your maximum health that can't be healed back until you get to a med station or specifically have items and abilities that allow you to heal it. You might say, that sounds like it's not fun. And you're right, it's not. It's never a mechanic that's used in any interesting ways for any other reason than the appearance of complexity. There was never a moment where I had any other feeling than annoyance for this mechanic. It just seems like it's there to be there. The offensive slot has your classic pipe bomb, the bait jar, which is basically your bile bomb that slows zombies hit by it, the Molotov that's giga nerfed from Left 4 Dead, the frag and flashbang that do what you would expect them to do, and the smoke grenade and the firecrackers. Okay, can someone tell me in my horde shooter why we have stealth mechanics? Why do I want a smoke grenade to hide behind? Why do I need firecrackers to draw enemies away for less time than the pipe bomb does? What does this game want to be? Some of the items either feel redundant or like they were made for a different game. The quick slot was a new category created for Back 4 Blood that would include other items that were more utility than anything. You had the ammo pouch that would give your team ammo, the bear trap that would lock enemies in place, dealing damage over time, the defibrillator that would revive a dead teammate or quickly revive a downed teammate. Pretty cool addition. The razor wire that would slow enemies, or the stun gun that could be used to escape from being held down by a special infected. You know, that mechanic that Left 4 Dead was kind of pretty much designed around. You also had the toolkit, which would open stash doors around the map where you would find loot, and it would do other miscellaneous things as well. Honestly, it's a pretty cool item. I don't necessarily have any issues with many of the quick accessories besides the stun gun and how overpowered razor wire is in some situations. Finally, you had your weapons. There were a variety of weapons to choose from that each had their own kind of unique ammo. You have assault rifles for medium long range, SMGs for medium short, shotguns for short range, and snipers for long range. You also have various handguns that follow the same formula, as well as the melee weapons and the bow that don't have any ammo to run out of, but use your stamina as a resource. The weapons have 5 tiers, from white to green to blue to purple to orange. You can also find attachments in the vendor or around the map that for primary weapons consist of the sight, the barrel for range, stealth, recoil, and accuracy attachments, the mag for damage, reload speed, and magazine side related attachments, and the stock for handling and move speed related attachments. The bow and melee weapons each also had their own set of attachments. The materials attachments focused on stamina efficiency, healing per kill, and damage resistance. The grips focused on mobility, handling, and attack speed. And the handguards focused on range, stumbling, and damage. The attachments do add a lot of customization to the gameplay. It's a fun feeling when you have your build going and you finally find the set of attachments with the perfect weapon that you want for the run. This isn't a bad thing, but it adds complexity through more mechanics rather than being something complex under the surface that can easily be understood at first glance. In Left 4 Dead, you had the laser sight and the explosive and incendiary ammo that could be found around the map. There was never a choice whether or not you would take it. The answer was always yes. They objectively made you more powerful if you found them. Now when you find attachments, you get decision fatigue over how you want to customize your weapon to create the perfect build. Now, is there a type of player that this appeals to? Yes, absolutely. I'm one of them. Is it a type of player that Left 4 Dead appeals to? Well, no, not necessarily. This isn't to say Left 4 Dead's formula doesn't work well with roguelike elements, because I'd be lying to you if I said that. A highly replayable, teamwork-based horde shooter where players each have a role on the team with an AI director that chooses where and when to spawn items absolutely would lend itself to being a roguelike game. The main problem is Back 4 Blood 1 didn't commit to any one thing, and 2 marketed itself as the Left 4 Dead spiritual successor where these complex elements of the cards, the vendor, the items, and the weapons and attachments would feel really out of place. You can't make a game that tries to be Left 4 Dead without having the special infected, of which there are 20 give or take, which I'll explain later, compared to Left 4 Dead 2's 8 or 9 if you count the Wandering Witches. First, you have the Tallboy infected, which are tankier and hit you with their huge arm, knocking you back, or hitting you a bunch of times in the case of the Bruiser, incapacitating you for the Crusher, and hitting you from a distance with projectiles in the case of the Rippers. You had the Stinger category that would jump from wall to wall and shoot projectiles at you, slowing in the case of the Stinger, with the Hawker incapacitating whoever was hit, the stalker basically acting as a hunter jockey, and the urchin who shot mines that would hit players with spikes when they got too close to them. Next was the Reeker category, where the Reekers would run at you and hit you backwards, exploding when they died and calling a horde if you were too close to them. The Exploders would run at you and explode, knocking you back and dealing a ton of damage. The Wretches basically were boomers that barfed acid, and the Shredder would pull you next to them and start hitting you. Finally, you had the Sentinel category that consisted of the Lobbers that would throw bombs, the Swarmers that would fire turbo bees at you from cover, and the Whalers that would shoot homing gas sacks at you that I totally knew what they did before I looked on the wiki. In addition, you also had the Snitches that would call a horde to them when they were attacked, and the Sleepers that would sit on a wall and incapped whoever walked past and call a horde. Sleepers are a super fun enemy. I love how they slow down gameplay and are attached to so many walls in the game with a super faint audio cue that gets drowned out by all the other sounds in the game. I, for one, cannot imagine how I would have fun without this dogshit enemy being in the game. For the boss infected, you had the Ogre that would move slowly and throw giant pus boulders at you, and melee attack you when it got close. The next boss infected was the Breaker that would move around quickly and beat people to death while spawning a Fortnite Battle Royale circle while you were fighting it. Why me, man? The last boss infected was a hag that would run around until somebody startled it, swallowing whole whoever did so. My favorite part about the boss infected is that when you're trying to take them down, the AI actually prioritizes hitting the regular infected over them, making you have to do like all of the work. Now, I know I was super sarcastic throughout all of this, but I'm really not a fan of any of these. I don't think there's a single mutation that comes even close to being as good as the special infected in Left 4 Dead, whether it be gameplay wise, personality wise, or even character design wise. If you took any one of the special infected out of Left 4 Dead, I feel like you would lose a lot from the game. If you did that with this game, however, it doesn't feel like you'd lose out on much. They took the hard quantity over quality approach with this, and it shows. None of these are memorable, none of these ever make me feel a sense of anxiety that they're there. I'm either just annoyed or barely notice their existence. In Left 4 Dead, each special infected had clear abilities, strengths, and counterplay. With the special infected in this game, it just feels like that they're annoying or they get cheesed instantly. I feel good when I snipe a spitter, outmaneuver a charger, or kite a hunter. I feel nothing when I beat any of these special infected. Am I being harsh to this game? Yes, I have over 200 hours in this game. I desperately want it to be the best game that it can be. I would love to say to my friends, hey guys, check out this dope ass Left 4 Dead roguelike. Those are like my two favorite things. I don't want to be bashing this game right now. I don't know why it was necessary to have this many special infected when they could have just had 5 to 10 good special infected that were memorable and had clear abilities and counterplay. Once again, another example of inaccessibility through unnecessary complexity. So, the characters are poorly written, but I don't think all the blame should fall on the writers. The shallow characters are more of a result of the mindset that this game has that more equals better. More special infected, more items, more weapons, more mechanics, and in this case, more characters. Each character comes with a unique set of buffs and abilities, of which there are 12 of them. That's 4 more characters than both Left 4 Dead games combined. It's not necessarily a bad thing to have a lot of characters, especially if they're done well, but it is in this kind of game. For example, let's say that there's a point in the game where any 2 characters can interact. If you have 4 characters, there are 6 total interactions here. Now let's bump that number up to 5. Now we sit at 10 possible interactions. 6, 15 interactions. With 12, we sit at a grand total of 66 possible interactions between characters in this one situation. That is 11 times the amount of interactions for this one situation that you would have if there were 4 characters. If you want to have developed relationships between characters, you would have to spend 11 times the amount of resources to get the characters to the same place as Left 4 Dead. You might say to this that yeah, sure, the amount of development that each character gets is reduced, but it's really the gameplay that matters. And yes, kind of, but not really. The point of Left 4 Dead is that it's a team game, and the interactions between characters are a part of what makes it feel that way. Even if you have annoying ass bots on your team, you still want to see Francis, Zoe, or Rochelle survive because of all the fun experiences and interactions you had with them. The brilliant writing and banter between characters really made you feel like a team and made the gameplay better for it.
The rescue trapper's leaving.
Goddamn whirly bird left without us.
Helicopter. helicopter. It is a helicopter. You call that thing a whirlybird one more time, I'll beat you so bad, your sister's gonna wish she never gave birth to you.
I would much rather have seen 4 well-developed characters than 12 meh characters that I don't really care about. It's not like the characters don't have potential. Mom, Holly, Evangelo, Carly, Hoffman, and Tala are all characters that with some development could become pretty cool if they would just reduce the insane amount of character bloat. It's not like the character buffs are super noticeable anyway. You could just make each of them a card and give an extra card to players before throwing them in a match. And the dialogue, oh God, the dialogue. The one-liners are so forced and unnatural when in Left 4 Dead it felt like they were spaced out and were only there when they fit the situation. For example, here's one one-liner that works and one that doesn't in the game.
This place feels like pineapple on pizza. Just plain wrong.
So why does this line feel forced? The problem here is that it's just a generic line that can be applied to any situation, doesn't tell us anything about our character really, and has a joke that isn't even funny. Even as somebody that's a pineapple on pizza hater. You people are disgusting, by the way. See what I just did there? I just did a one-liner that structurally works whether or not you thought it was funny. It had the relevance, the setup, and the punchline. Now let's compare it to a quote that works in the game.
Hey, Carly, bet you never thought you'd be working for the man. Fuck off.
Now why is this a one-liner that works? Well, it perfectly incorporates the situation, the characters, their reactions to it, and brings their personalities into conflict for this one interaction. Holly is a bit of a jokester character that makes light of situations and points out how the infection forced Carly to be part of something she stood against in the past. Her response is indicative of her character as well with her rough personality. There was a setup of the situation and a relevant line of dialogue with a punchline. This is how you develop characters through one-liners and dialogue. Now we have the mechanics, items, special infected, and characters done. All that's left is a campaign. So let's do the thing again and go through all the acts to see where it all went wrong. Act 1 starts off with the survivors delivering supplies to a guy. I don't know why they are or what purpose it serves for them to do this, but they are doing that. They are then attacked by the Ridden and chased to the starting point of Act 1. The cutscene is alright. It's a fun action sequence that shows that Walker is a leader character guy, Holly is a character that likes to crack jokes, Evangelo is the inexperienced new guy compared to Mom, who is one of the more experienced members in the group. Anyway, you're brought to a hotel lobby where you're called back to Fort Hope by Phillips, the general in charge. You move room by room, making your way to the bridge that you have to lower, which calls a horde to your location. You then move to the truck yard, which introduces you to the crows that call a horde when you startle them, moving past the area to the safe room in a motel. The first level is pretty good honestly, and does a good job at introducing you to the new mechanics with the birds and always having the toolkit door in the same place. One thing you'll notice though is that the game is much more hectic since the players are more powerful than they were in Left 4 Dead. The special infected spawn more and the hordes are bigger. The second level starts you off moving through a tunnel where you're attacked by an ogre that digs away when it gets to about half health. You move through the tunnel where the ogre attacks you again at the end, and you're brought to the next safe house. In level 3, you move through the town into the forest where you're brought to a factory. You start the machine that calls a horde to create a pile of gravel that lets you get over the train car and get to the next safe room. In the crossing, you blow up a wall to get yourself across the bridge. Support arrives and gives you explosives to get back on the boat and blow it up, blocking the crossing for the Ridden. In a clean sweep, you go through the town where you're introduced to the Breaker. How did it get in the garage? No one knows or explains it. But you have to fight him and then make your way to the liquor store where you rescue 4 survivors from the hawkers that are keeping them captive while a horde comes after you.
There's also Stealthy Passage if you want it.
Oh, I just saved your ass right there.
Yeah, I saw that. If you want to disarm the birds.
Oh. Oh
No
shit,
arms,
no!
no
I didn't
birds.
want that. Oh, fuck.
Ah. I mean, I can take these. I'm not using
Okay,
my...
yeah, shit.
I probably should take it. I didn't realize it
God
got rid
damn
of
it,
your
I
slot.
forgot to disable the quick slot.
Yeah, me too.
Bookworms has you patching up the windows in a library to secure the area before moving through to the apartment building to rescue more survivors, bringing you to the next safe room. Barroom Blitz has you blasting a jukebox to draw the Ridden to you so that the buses can transport the survivors that you just rescued to safety. The problem with this level is whenever I play it, I think of the much better finale in Left 4 Dead 2 where you also blasted music. Unintentionally, this level encapsulates the problem I have with the idea of this game. The Dark Carnival finale was awesome because it was a whole concert where where you were the star of the show before you called rescue while original music played, which added extra charm to it. In this, you fight zombies in a less interesting setting while licensed music plays. I get that they were going for the bar fight feel, which they do achieve, but everything just feels so corporate. You're drawing attention away from the bus, which is the main focus of the finale. Not you. Which is fine, but the game doesn't even recognize you for doing a good job, ever. Which brings us to Phillips. Phillips is actually the most unlikable character I have ever seen in a game that takes up as much screen time as he does. He constantly belittles the characters, doesn't really show that he cares about the lives of the people he sends to their deaths, and is just all around a guy that doesn't earn the insane amount of time he is given in the game. If I have this character constantly telling me what to do and how to do it, can you at least make me like him? Like a little, please? I get that he's a tough military guy that doesn't show a lot of emotions, but secretly cares about the people under him sort of character, but that's just never shown. The game never shows why anyone would ever follow this guy. Where are his leadership qualities? Where is he being shown making calls that the main characters don't understand but end up being right in the end? This isn't ever shown because Phillips is a bad character, and you have to listen to him throughout the entire game. In Special Delivery, Phillips sends Pelissaro, who we will never know who he is or care about him, to check out a mine while you check in on a diner that they lost contact with. In this level, you have snitches that normally don't call Horde if you kill them before they scream, but now they always call Horde if you kill them. The mission has you finding supply containers while avoiding the snitches. But the problem is, it feels like they really want it to be a stealth level, but it doesn't work out to be that way. It just feels really weird when playing it. Anyway, you get the supplies and find a safe room in a vinyl store. The diner has you bringing the supplies over and fighting off zombies for 5 minutes after you switch the generator on.
We're gonna do some cheese.
I love cheese.
Well, I guess I should rephrase that. You're gonna do some cheese because I can't use quick items.
What do I need to do?
Oh, just grab all the razor wire and then we're just gonna like put it all
Oh,
in the fucking corner. Okay, yeah, you remember the strat.
Yeah.
This finale is alright, I guess, but that's kind of the problem. Is this a finale? I don't know. There are always zombies everywhere, so when there's a big event that's being led up to, why do I care? It just feels the same way as every other part of the game. And good job. That's all Phillips has to say after this, by the way. That's it. That's all you ever get. Just good job. In Bad Seeds, you search for Pelissaro, who you totally care about, and see why contact was lost with his team. Phillips being shown as giving a bad order and having the player wonder why he's in charge? Tell me it isn't so.
Just a sec.
I'm disarming the birds. 1 second. 1 second, I'm disarming the birds.
And birds with arms. Not allowed. I love when they just fucking explode. Just... Jesus Christ.
This is so stupid. I disarm these birds too.
Jesus fucking Christ. Oh my god.
You make your way to the barn where you destroy 3 of whatever these things are before you can clear the hive, clearing a path forward to the next safe room. The next level starts off in a trailer and you move through the tunnel and start the tow truck to clear a way forward.
Great outdoors.
What the fuck does he even mean? We've been outdoor like the entire fucking campaign. Like
You fight the hag and find a safe room that you have to fix up before you end the level. This is a cool crescendo event though. I like this one. Boarding up the windows while the horde comes at you and working together to get it all fixed up. It's fun having a crescendo event where you have to make the safe room this time. Abandon starts you moving through a neighborhood and destroying another hive before you get to a tow truck that you have to start to move the car before making a run for it. You move to the mine, exploding passages to stop the ridden from spawning and eventually make it to the safe room.
alright. Come on, I'm on my way. Oh. Oh.
Can you sprint or no?
What?
Can you sprint or no?
This is my sprint right here.
Oh man. Oh yeah, look at this money jingling off of you. It's just... What the fuck?
The finale is the Sound of Thunder, where you load and unload shells into the artillery gun to close off the mine. It's a fun finale with a good mechanic. Gameplay wise, I don't really have any complaints here. As you fire more shells into the Ridden Hive, they get angrier and you have stronger infected coming at you. Story wise, however, why is this the strategy that they're going with? The Ridden are clearly capable of not only burrowing, but burrowing faster than modern technology. Couldn't they just burrow under the rubble that you create when you close off the mine? In the second level of this campaign, the ogre came out of a street that was burrowed through, so concrete clearly can't stop them, right? Act 1 is honestly pretty underwhelming. There were no events that really stuck out as being super fun or interesting. It was all just pretty generic stuff with something kind of cool here and there. The campaign just drags on. There really wasn't any reason that it should have been this long. Levels could have been combined together or cut entirely. It wasn't a super complex story that needed to be told over this many levels. And this campaign is probably the best that the game has to offer. You'll probably notice the continue system at this point too. Yes, you get limited continues in this game. In Left 4 Dead, you could try over and over again until you get it right. Now, if you die too many times, you have to start from a checkpoint where you have none of your items, upgrades, or attachments from before. I just don't know what this adds to the game. Just like Trauma, all it does is make the game less fun. When I die on a level, I don't want to start from I don't even know how many levels back with less gear and less upgrades so that when I fail the next time, when I have less of a chance because of me losing those upgrades from starting from the checkpoint that you gave me. Don't worry though, you can get those upgrades back. You just have to play the campaign all over again. This game asks so much of your time without spending the effort to earn it. It also discourages players playing higher difficulties. Why would a player try a higher difficulty when if they die, they only have a few times that they can try before they have to either start from a few levels back or start the campaign over again to have the best shot? It's just not fun design. Act 2 starts off with you moving through the town from the last campaign to a parking garage where you clear out another hive, bringing you to a neighborhood that leads to the next safe room. The handyman has you moving through a police station, taking down hives until you get Bob's arm to use a scanner to open the safe room door. Honestly, I think this level is pretty fun and shows some personality with finding the arm to get in the safe room that also doubles as a melee weapon. Although it does feel slightly out of place in the otherwise serious tone of the game, but I think it's fine to have a morbid gag here and there.
Ridden is not past tense of ride, by the way.
What?
Ridden is not past tense of ride, by the way.
And?
Call
I
them
think that's
roads
gonna
from
stop
now
your
on.
mom from having ridden this dick?
Hmm.
When you make it into the armory, you find that all the weapons are gone, and move through the tunnels and sewers and pipe cleaners to get to the next safe room. Hinterland has you exiting a tunnel, moving through a small town that's partially flooded, with another section where you have to take down another hive. In Trailer Trash, you detach a boat to create a bridge and make your way to the trailer park with the safe room at the end.
Okay.
You let me die, like, right outside the door of the last stage.
I'm
Literally
sorry,
just
my
right
guy.
there, and I got hit by a hawker, and I was stunned, and I got murdered.
You
Mom's
know,
always watching.
that's what we call L, my dude. That's what we call a big L that you just took and wasn't my fault whatsoever.
The clog has you moving up through a collection of boats, shipping containers, and scrap metal that create a bridge over the water.
Oh, that's off the map. Oh, okay.
And,
You walk your way to a cruise ship that has the next safe room.
you won't hit F?
Yeah, can you hit F, motherfucker?
I'm gonna rate this match 3 stars.
Good job.
Maybe.
Plan B. Evangelo got me pregnant, so the Plan B card showed up.
Mm.
I'm gonna pretend you didn't say that.
In the Broken Bird, you attach 3 different supply crates to a helicopter before you're flown out of the zone.
He's
Where's
right
this
there.
boy?
I'm gonna chop him. Get fucking stumbled, idiot.
Oh, I'm dead. I killed myself.
Yeah, you jumped into the ocean.
Oh, I jumped into the ocean.
Bam!
Heralds of the Worm Part 1 is in fact a level. You fight a horde with an ogre in the parking lot that has been used 3 times now. That's a level. Part 2 has you fighting a horde that has an ogre and a breaker by the diner that's been used for the 2nd time.
Where's the Fortnite monster? There he is.
The The finale of the game is Grave Danger, where there are 5 snitches that need to be killed that call a horde each time, with 2 breakers attacking you at the end. I actually think this is a really good finale idea. You set the pace of the finale and have to strategize around the position of snitches and decide when and where you want to call the hordes. It would be a good end to a campaign if the rest of it wasn't so... When Back 4 Blood initially came out, the card system gave you a card from your deck at the beginning of the level, rather than giving you the whole deck right away at the beginning like it does now. This meant that for players to get their whole deck throughout the campaign, they had to stuff the axe with a bunch of levels that were either unmemorable, reused ideas from other levels, or had cool ideas that didn't have the dev time to reach their full potential because the campaign needed to be padded for the card system to function. Instead of dev time being spent on making a few levels great, it was spent on making a whole bunch of levels that ranged from okay to decent, but were ultimately not something that felt like they had a lot of heart and thought going into. So I guess I should probably explain myself here, because you might ask why I would think reusing levels in Heralds of the Worm Part 1 and 2 is bad, while Hard Rain is one of my favorite campaigns in Left 4 Dead, which is a fair question. The problem here is that nothing is really added by reusing these levels. They just use it as a backdrop for a horde so that you can get your cards for the level. In Hard Rain, there was so much more intention behind reusing the levels. When you move through the level backwards with the flooding of the town, the main walkways that you went through before were either cut off or put you in a position where you were vulnerable to special infected attacks. The level is entirely changed with the way they designed it the second time through, where you can tell they just ran out of ideas with Heralds of the Worm. When your mechanics undermine your level design, something has to change. You can't just sacrifice the quality of your level design because you wanted a cool mechanic to be in the game in a certain way. You have to be more creative with how you implement your mechanics in the game, or you risk sacrificing the quality of the levels where players will use those mechanics. Unfortunately, it looks like they made the wrong choice here. Farther afield has you moving down a path that leads you to a farm where you can start a tractor to clear a path through the field if you use a toolkit. After making your way through the town, you make it to a safe room. Blazing Trails has you moving down the hill, bringing you to a burned down forest. You arrive at a building where you do the hive thing again and find the safe room not too long after. I really do like the section where you go under the building and through the partially flooded basement to get to the hive area in this level. It has that ambushed in the creepy hallway with nowhere to run kind of vibe. I just wish they would have done the crescendo event around that rather than just giving you another hive. Cabins by the Lake starts you by a lake. Crazy, I know. You start a ferry that moves you across while a horde is called. When you get across, you find the cabins that the title said the thing about. You move along the shore until you reach some cabins that you need to search for a battery to open the gate, calling a horde that you have to fight through to get to the next safe room. Garden Party has you fighting through a mansion courtyard up to the garden where they do the hive thing one more time in case you haven't had enough of it by now. You're brought to a maze where you fight through the twists and turns and never know what's going to be crawling through the hedges or hiding behind the corner. Honestly, I really do like the maze section. The rest of the level, not so much. Once again, why not just build a level around that maze section rather than having the garden where you fight the 500th hive as the main attraction? This game has so many awesome potential events, but it never takes advantage of putting you in fun situations. Dr. Rogers' Neighborhood. What can we say about Dr. Rogers' Neighborhood? Well, that it's probably the worst level in the game. In this level, you arrive at a mansion that Dr. Rogers is hiding out in, and he shows off a weapon that's effective against the Ridden. However, he won't leave without his research, and you have to find it and bring it to the truck. When you were playing the Dead Center, the Passing, and the Last Stand finales, did you ever say to yourself, man, I would really like to play this without being able to see the outlines of the gas cans through walls? Yeah, I haven't either. But this finale has you covered. You're forced to painstakingly go room by room, looking for research with no indicators of where they are with constant hordes spawning. Eventually, the game decides that, yeah, maybe it's not fun to do that in a horde shooter and just tells you where they are, which they should have done from the beginning. A Friend in Need has you moving to an underground facility trapped with alarmed doors where you have to find a keycard to move forward. You turn off a furnace to move forward and arrive at a middle school where you find the safe room. Thankfully, you just find zombies there and not Minecraft Let's Players. Making the grade has you moving through the school to destroy another hive. You get to the gymnasium where you turn on a generator to move the bleachers. It shuts off midway through and you have to find a battery to turn it back on. An ogre arrives and you move to the roof, jumping down to get on a bus and drive it off a cliff.
Why did we get in this bus?
What not?
So we couldn't just drive directly off a cliff?
Yeah, I kind of don't understand the point there. Like, yo, dude, let's fucking go.
It's a bus for free. You gotta go.
Roblox.
Bus. Fuck yeah, dude.
The road to hell puts you in a military checkpoint where you move through the massive amount of bodies. You search for the chemicals that Dr. Rogers needs for his weapon.
Oh yeah. We gotta get thick. Gotta get Vormaxing.
Huh?
I'm Vormaxing right now.
You didn't have to say those things.
After you get the chemicals, you open the gates to fight your way down the hallways to the safe room. This was a really good level. Probably the best one in the game. You have the tight level design, differentiated areas, a cool crescendo event, and also really good environmental storytelling. The level looks like what you would see at a military checkpoint for a parasite this dangerous. You see the havoc that was wrought on the place, with bodies becoming a part of the environment itself. It also makes sense that you would find chemicals that would be used in a weapon against the parasite. Why wouldn't people dealing with containing it be working with substances that could be used eventually in a weapon to fight it? They just didn't know how to make it all come together yet, and that's why the checkpoint got overrun. They have the ability to make good levels. This shows that they're able to. There was even a line I got that Doc said to Mom that she wasn't immune like the others, possibly hinting at what you would see in later DLCs with the cult. Armed with a weapon that makes the raid invulnerable, the finale has Turtle Rock finally flexing their design prowess with the most epic level you've seen up to this point, and it's just hives again. The act ends with some giant monster appearing out of the ground and Dr. Rogers gets killed, I guess. Man, I really cared about that guy. Who is he again? Potential is a word that's thrown around a bunch when people mean to say that this would be good if almost everything about it was different other than the cool things. And that's how I'm also going to use it when I refer to this game. There are so many moments in this campaign where if they just put a bit more work into it, they could have a pretty sick level. But they had to stretch it out over the course of so many different missions. More thought need to be invested in fewer levels because man, all these acts just drag on. The road to hell clearly shows that Turtle Rock is capable of making these kinds of levels. They just need to put that effort into the rest of the game. If the card system doesn't allow you to make good levels, you change it. You don't just shrug your shoulders and say, good enough. Act 4 is pretty much just a boss fight that has 3 phases. In the first phase, you fight 4 tentacles that try to hit you and spit acid around them when they die. The second phase has you dodging the tentacle attacks and shooting in the weak spot when it opens its mouth. This phase is pretty fun. The third phase has the abomination walking away from you while you shoot its weak points. Man, Phillips doesn't give a fuck about me, the story doesn't give a fuck about me other than being one of Phillips' cleaners. The writing has to be split between 12 characters, so the writers don't give a fuck about me getting invested in anyone here. And now even the boss is here ignoring my ass in the last phase of the battle. What is that? Yes, I get that it's going towards Fort Hope to destroy everything, but even still, it never feels like you're the person with any agency in the story. It always feels like Phillips is the one making the shots, and you're just along for the ride to dance monkey dance. You never rescued people because it was the right thing to do, it was because you were told to. You never helped create a bioweapon to take down the Ridden because your group was better equipped than anyone else, you did it because you were told to. And you know what? Real life mimics art. Here I am buying this game because I was told to, because these were supposedly the devs that made Left 4 Dead, like the good sheep I am. But now, I even doubt that. If this and Evolve are what happened when they don't have Valve to keep them in line, are these really the same devs that made Left 4 Dead, or just people taking credit for the design calls that Valve made? Am I being harsh? Yes. Am I being fair? I also think yes. How many turbo average games need to be released before we all realize that it might be a leadership problem here? In Left 4 Dead, you gassed up Jimmy Gibbs' stock car because you came up with that plan. You decided to start a concert to call rescue because you knew you were badass enough to take on the infected that would come at you. And that loser that told you what to do in the beginning of No Mercy died in the worst campaign of the series because he's a bitch and you aren't. Tunnels of Terror released on April 12th, 2022, introducing the new Ridden Hives that you could find in levels where you could risk it all to get some legendary weapons and loot. They also added the new cleaners, Hang and Charisse, who exist. Honestly, this did add a lot to the game and had a bunch of fun weapons and items that you could find to play around with. The levels though, Let's go through them. The main concept of the Ridden Hives is that you have the goal of exploring deeper for more loot, with multiple exits to back out of when you reach a certain point in the level, with warped chests that give you debuffs when they're opened. You can also find skull totems through the map that give you points to get cards and skins. Although unless you or somebody on your team is using a melee build, this can get pretty annoying because you're basically having to do the Garden Gnome achievement in Left 4 Dead 2 every level that you play if you want to max out your rewards. So let's go through the levels one by one. Sunken Passages consists of a center room with a hive that you need to destroy. You need to chase down all 3 parts down their respective tunnels before destroying the center. You probably know how I feel about this by now. Caustic Cesspool has you playing a game of the floor is lava and the enemies are dogshit. The cut is a cavern that consists of a lot of changes in elevation, with possible falls to your death, having you be careful about your positioning. This one is pretty alright. 300 Below has you moving through a mine that the Ridden have made a hive in. Broodlayer has a bunch of twists and turns, with the flesh from the parasite forming a hive around man-made structures. Honestly, I do like this one. It shows how the Ridden have taken over structures and warped them into their own twisted creations, even forming their own bridges at points. You see how sophisticated they are, actually showing you what kind of threat you're dealing with rather than Phillips saying this is a war over and over again. Bloodstream starts you off moving through a river of blood, sliding down it at one point, which honestly is metal as shit. However, they don't really do anything with the river thing other than it just being a cosmetic thing on another cave, which is kind of what this DLC is, Cave Simulator. They all feel the same really, just with slight tweaks to each other. Sometimes an inner layer might spawn, with a large loot pile in the middle, and a bunch of walls of flesh that you need to blow up to find the exit, with gauntlets of enemies that spawn behind them. The lighting in this level is pretty damn sweet. The levels in this DLC aren't god-awful or anything, but they just don't feel distinct, original, or made with purpose, with a slight exception of Broodlayer. Risking it all for some good loot is fun, but when you have boring levels that just spam enemies and hazards without thought behind them, you just don't get the feeling that the devs were looking for here. Like, can you tell me what's going on here? Once again, did we need 7 levels? The passing was 3, the sacrifice was 3, the last stand was 2. People will be fine with less than 7 levels. It's okay. Act 5 starts off with the new cleaner Prophet Dan talking about the cult of the worm to Phillips. They worship the parasite and have been converting people over to their cause. Although I don't understand what's happening in this scene. So Prophet Dan has magic powers. Where did they come from? Is the parasite magic too? Is this a magic worm changing people into zombie guys? I don't get it. What is this? I don't understand. Light Guide Us is the first level of Children of the Worm. Phillips is sending you to the prison to rescue people from the camp that were kidnapped. In this level, you move from building to building, finding ship parts to bring back to the boat in the bay to make your way to the prison while constant hordes spawn on you. This whole level is just not fun. It's grab the thing, backtrack, grab the next thing, backtrack, grab the next. Backtrack. It's just lazy level design and feels like a slog to play through. Anyway, you fix the ship and sail out. The next level starts off with you on the boat face to face with a new special infected asterisk. I don't know what to actually consider these guys. In Left 4 Dead, you had the boomer, the hunter, the spitter. Now in this game, you have the sniper.
Bro, the quickscoper is my favorite special infected.
There's also the crone that shoots arrows at you, the slasher that's tanky and runs at you to slash you, and the pus flinger that's like a boomer that doesn't blind you and drains your stamina. When you finish dealing with FaZe Clan, you move your way through the town and arrive at the prison, where you find a safe room through the parking lot. Wear Me Flock's Chain consists of you venturing through the prison, rescuing the prisoners by setting charges on their doors. You're also introduced to the traps that are all around the map that, like the sleepers, have a very subtle audio cue in this game where sounds are happening all over the place. Because man, wouldn't that be a fun mechanic to add? The level ends with you entering an area, fighting off the Ridden until one of the cultists opens a manhole and rescues you. Why does the cult here just not, oh, I don't know, open it? In the Depths is a level that is kind of really not good. You start the level by finding explosives to attach to the cart that you move through the level. The whole mission is you waiting for the cart while fighting off zombies, repairing the tracks, opening doors, and finally bringing it to the end where you explode the rubble. The gameplay in this level is pretty painfully slow. Surrounded by devils has you moving through the prison compound and cultist camps to get to the elevator that leads to the underground. This is the best level of the campaign and was honestly pretty fun to play through. The finale is you rescuing survivors from the prison cells while constant hordes are on you, because of course they are. Just spam enemies and do the thing from the other level, that's probably fine, right? We'll call it a day. After rescuing everyone, you plant the explosives and escape in the truck. And I crown this one worst campaign of the game. To borrow a page from Ego Raptor, there is so much fucking waiting in this game. You have to wait to get a shot on the snipers, wait to put the charges on the door, wait to escape the trap, wait for the enemies that crowd control you that there's no counterplay to, wait for the acid pool that 500 different enemies drop on the ground to disappear, wait for the cart to get to the end of the level, wait when you restart it when it takes enough damage. Why am I waiting so much? Can I please play your game? I really don't like how hard this game tries to force events and epic moments to happen. They try to make a cool sequence where you trudge through the hordes while defending the cart, but it just feels like it's taking all the agency in the game away from me. And also, why do I have to bring a whole ass cart? Why can't I just bring the dynamite? Every time Left 4 Dead made you wait, it had a purpose. You had to wait and be vulnerable if you wanted to heal, fill gas, or start a generator, but that was it. And when you had to wait, it was for dramatic effect at the end of the parish before the big run to rescue. Man, I really would love to make the video right now on the game that was an innovative roguelike take on the horde shooter genre by the devs that worked on Left 4 Dead, but I can't. I don't like roasting this game. I had more fun making the last video, but some of these things just need to be said. River of Blood starts you off on a boat to chase down the cult. You blow up 4 houses and ring the bell for reasons. You find out that the new cleaner Tala's brother was the guy that rescued you from the arena in the last campaign. You walk down the path to arrive at the base where you plant some explosives on the lighthouse, with Dusty rescuing you at the end, who is instantly more likable than Phillips. In the next level, Dusty tries to persuade you to not go through with re-establishing communications because it's too dangerous, but the cleaners decide to go through with it anyway. Dusty rescues you in missions and actually cares about you. Wow, where was this leader helper side character this whole game? You go through the parking garage to turn on the generator.
No, taxi, no.
No
Not
fake
the
taxi.
fake taxi. No. Same for yourself. No.
You're brought to a hotel where you head up the roof to find the right frequency on the radio while Horde comes after you. Phillips tells you to come back, and you tell him finally to piss off, like you should have 5 acts ago. Finally, we get some agency here.
Get to the boat. We gotta get to the boat. We gotta jump down to the boat. We gotta jump down and get to the boat.
I'm on a
Get to
boat.
that boat. We gotta jump to the boat. We gotta get to the boat. We gotta get to the boat. You ain't get to the boat with me. We gotta get to the boat. We gotta go to the boat. We gotta get to the boat. Oh, he didn't get to the boat, man. He didn't get the boat. Oh, he didn't get to the boat.
Grim Discovery has you moving through a museum and making your way to a planetarium that you activate to make your way through the wormhole door. It's a fun setting for a crescendo event, but it doesn't do anything super interesting with it. You move through the prehistoric exhibit and find the safe room at the end. The waterfront has you moving through the town until you reach an area with flesh walls clinging to structures and bodies hanging from clotheslines. You call the tram and ride it to the end of the level where you're attacked by an ogre. And it just ends abruptly, like mid-ride. There are so many moments in this game where it shows what it could be and just stops before it is. I wanted to play the rest of that shit. Behold the Harbinger is the final level of the game where you find rocket launchers around the map that you shoot at the weak spot while you go around the arena trying to find Tala's brother. After 3 phases, you take it down, find Derek, and escape to safety before the arena collapses. This campaign was good. I don't have any real problems with it. It just didn't do enough to make me super invested in the game. The characters were meh, the levels were meh, the story was barely a thing, and it had the classic moments of unused potential fun moments. It just felt like it was all too little, too late. There, I said the thing. Nobody cares about Swarm. If there's one thing I don't want you coming away from this video thinking, it's thinking that Back 4 Blood is a bad game. It's not. I wouldn't have over 200 hours in it if I thought it was. I love all the fun builds, unlocking skins and weapons, and watching copper number go up. My main problem is that Turtle Rock advertised this game as being the next Left 4 Dead that you've been wanting the last decade, but it delivered something entirely different. If they advertised this as being a roguelike game that they made that was similar to the style of Left 4 Dead, but was their own unique spin on things, I wouldn't be as harsh here. But they raised the expectation of what this game was going to be, and I'm going to judge it as such. There's a difference between something being good and something being great. This game doesn't know what it wants to be. It has mechanics that undermine other mechanics, special infected that have the personality stripped from them, annoying enemies, traps, and corruption cards that only make the game worse, lazy level design, meh writing, and the waiting. Oh god, the waiting. With Evolve, Turtle Rock were the devs that specialized in asymmetric multiplayer because they made Left 4 Dead and knew what they were doing. With Back 4 Blood, they told us that they had a new Left 4 Dead game and that they were going to give you what you've been waiting for all these years. I think it's time that Turtle Rock stops telling us that they're the devs that made Left 4 Dead and start being the devs that made Left 4 Dead.